Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I don't know where you all are, but over here in Worcester, it is rainy, it is gray, it is cold. It is mid-April, and we've got snow in the forecast for tomorrow. It is wild. So for any of you folks who are not from New England, should you come to Clark, it's gonna be a treat. The weather is always a treat. Um, and so, yeah, so we're excited to be here. We're excited that we're actually inside and not outside because the weather is pretty terrible. But we've got a great webinar for you tonight. So we're going to talk about athletics and recreation at Clark. We're going to talk about varsity sports. We're going to talk about club sports. We're going to talk about all of the ways that you can get involved in wellness and yoga and things like that on our campus. And we've got some great representatives from those areas to share with you from their experiences. So I'll just go around and we'll do quick introductions so you can get to know everybody. My name is Jess Howland, and I'm the Associate Director of Admissions. I'm also the athletic liaison, so I do work with the varsity coaches and recruited athletes throughout the admissions process. So for some of you in the audience, if you're recruited athletes, I probably either read your application or talked to a coach about you. So I'm really glad that you're here. Matt, do you want to do a quick introduction?
Sure. Matt O'Toole, head men's soccer coach, and I'm actually starting year 10 at Clark, and I am the admissions liaison. So Jess and I work hand in hand with all the student athletes and coaches and sports programs.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Caleb, do you want to give a quick introduction?
Hi, my name is Caleb Gibson. I'm a current junior studying business management, minoring in data science and economics, as well as planning to do the 50 MBA. And I'm a club soccer player.
Awesome. Thank you. And Michaela, do you want to give a quick introduction?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Michaela Dotson. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a sophomore majoring in psychology on the pre-medicine track, and I'm a varsity member of the women's basketball team.
Awesome. Thank you. And you're going to be hearing a lot more from Caleb and Michaela as we go forward. But just to get us started, couple quick things. We really hope that you'll ask questions. We have plenty of time at the end of the presentation for questions, but if you have questions, please feel free to ask those at any time. Please use the Q&A section of your toolbar. If you want to ask us a question, we will get to those. If you have something else you want to tell us, if something's not working, something seems weird, you just want to say hi, please feel free to use the chat and we'll be checking in on that as well. All right, Matt, you want to start us off and talk to us a little bit about what athletics looks like at Clark?
Sure. Thanks, Jess. So as I mentioned, this is my 10th year at Clark, and in looking at the opportunity to join the staff, I was really excited to join a high academic institution in a wonderful conference that had wonderful facilities and support for athletics. And so, we offer 17 varsity sports. We play in the NEWMAC conference, which is the New England Women's and Men's Athletic Conference, which is comprised of 11 universities and colleges, 3 of which are all female schools. And all the schools that are in the conference are within Massachusetts, except for the Coast Guard Academy, which is in New London, Connecticut. We play in Division III athletics, and so there are restrictions in the traditional season for your sport as well as the non-traditional season. And so some sports will overlap during the 2 semesters that we offer. So a lot of the winter sports will start their campaign during the fall and then finish in the winter semester or the spring semester. And then some of us are mainly just in the fall or the spring. Geographically, our location is wonderful. We don't really have to travel more than 2 hours for a competitive game. There's so many wonderful institutions in our area that play Division III athletics that there's a tremendous opportunity to have a strong strength of schedule without too much travel. So for our program in soccer, the most we go is 2 hours. But we do get a lot of interest regionally and out of region for competition if that's going to be an option for those programs. So you can see on the slide here that these are the programs that we offer. And if you are interested in pursuing the opportunity to compete in any of these sports, the first step would be to go to the university athletic website and reach out to the coaching staff of those. And I would strongly encourage you to take that opportunity to start a dialogue if you haven't already. And really just kind of let that coach know of your interest, your intent, the background, where have you played, and your interest level. So as I mentioned, Clark University plays in the Division III level. And so there, like I said, there are some restrictions with that. And in the fall, for us, as an example, for men's soccer, we have allowed 20 contests, which is the same as Division One. A difference is that we have a limited amount of days in preseason. And the main restriction you'll see for us is in the non-traditional spring, where we're only allowed 16 days of practice, where Division One and Division Two are allowed much more opportunity to practice. They're still going full time, 5 days a week. And so you get this nice balance of, full time in the fall and then a nice reprieve in the spring to really enjoy what the campus and opportunity the university offers from an internship standpoint, from club sports, from intramurals, and any of the other clubs that we have on campus. So there's this nice balance of academic, social, and athletic in the Division III model. We do have a partnership for varsity sports with a strength and conditioning business near us. It's called True North, and they work out our student athletes in season and out of season. And so it's a nice partnership that their staff comes over and helps our student athletes in that respect. We have 3 athletic facilities on campus. The main one is the Neller Athletic Center, which houses the majority of the offices for the coaches, our swimming pool, the basketball court, the volleyball court is right in there as well. And then you have a litany of racquetball courts, squash courts, and the Bigman Fitness Center as well is there for all students, faculty, and staff to utilize. For varsity athletes, we have a wonderful deal with Nike. So we supply our student athletes with equipment and apparel to compete in conference. And one of the other aspects I wanted to talk about was the balance. And I talked a little bit about the academic and the athletic and the social aspect, but our student athletes have a wonderful cumulative GPA. All of our sports are recognized for NUMAC All Academic Conference, and we have great numbers and representation there from sports across the board. So not only are our students doing really well on the playing field or in the court or in the pool, but we're representing academically as well. All of our programs are involved in community outreach, and they have a variety of different levels and activities that they seek out. And if that is something that you are interested in as well, I would bring that up with the coach in the conversation that you have with them. That is extended throughout our whole campus community, or just a thriving environment of outreach and just making everything around us better. And that goes for the collective faculty, students, and staff. Apart from varsity athletics, we also offer club sports and intramurals. There's a variety of teams for club sports that compete against other universities and colleges in the area. They have practices, and I know that the students here on the panel will speak a little bit more about this. But it's really well organized, and it's another outlet for students on campus to, continue a passion with a little bit less of a commitment than, say, a varsity sport. You can see here an example of the club sports that we offer. Intramurals is another opportunity that is there for athletic outlet, and there's a litany of different opportunities here that vary from semester to semester. So some sports are offered just in the fall semester, some sports are offered in the spring semester. And a lot of these are based of interest. And so if there's an opportunity or sport or activity that you're not seeing on these slides, then you fully have the opportunity to start up your own club and get the numbers involved and research and get some funding for it. And then I did mention some of the facilities. With the 3 facilities, there's, like I said, the Neller facility houses a lot of the on-campus activity. We have the Dolan Field House, which is down just a block or 2 off campus, which has a lot of the outdoor athletic fields, an indoor facility, as well as an athletic training room, and the tennis courts as well as down there. And then we also have a facility at the Boys and Girls Club, which is kind of a multi-purpose field that was built for their use during the day. And our university gets to use it in the evenings and the afternoons to facilitate club sports, non-traditional season practices. And there's the lines on it are soccer, lacrosse, softball, and there's a 4-lane or 5-lane track that goes around it too that is utilized as well. So between the facilities that are available, we're able to, like I mentioned, facilitate the opportunity for 17 varsity sports, all the intramural and recreation opportunities that you saw on the slide, as well as the club sports. So there's ample opportunity to seek athletic and recreation. There are a number of students that participate in multiple sports as well. And that's able to be done because of the balance, like we said, the traditional versus non-traditional. So, all right, I don't want to take up too much of the time. So I will pass the virtual mic.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Matt, for giving us that great overview of what that looks like at Clark. Michaela, would you mind starting us off and just telling us a little bit about your background in athletics, what you do at Clark, and how you balance your busy academic life with your athletic schedule?
Yes, of course. So like I said, I am a pre-med major, and I was very nervous and very scared coming to college, being able to balance athletics with being pre-med. I've always known I wanted to go to med school, so I almost off-put athletics in college because of that. But I found that at Clark I could do a multitude of other things as well as that. So when I'm not doing academics or basketball, I'm also the secretary of a club called the Clark Athletics Inclusion Coalition. We address inequalities within athletics here at Clark, but also in Division III and NCAA as well. And we do some work within the Worcester community as well, and also on campus. I also host a radio show through Radio of Clark. So for me, flexibility is a big thing. As you can see, doing so many things at once. So I've always tried to balance that. And I guess with my coaches and talking with, my friends and here at admissions, they've always helped me make time for whatever I need to do or whatever I need to get out of that. If I need to miss a lift to go do a pre-med tutoring group, they are flexible with me on that. They totally understand. Classes always come first, so they're never rarely going to argue with you about classes or anything that you're worried in that sector of life. And they've also been very understanding with my club involvement and how I navigate club life outside of athletics. Social life is a big thing, I think, as well. You just don't want to be an athlete and you want to be multifaceted. A lot of us are multifaceted, but that's credit to our coaches who gave us the space to do that. So to highlight some of that out of athletics kind of atmosphere that we have, and to highlight my group Cake, which I always love to highlight. I always like to point out the work that we're doing. Recently, we've been in talks with the athletics administration to increase BIPOC representation within our sports, within our coaching staff, creating a safe and inclusive environment. How can we be more welcoming to the community? How can we be more welcoming to the broad Clark community? And that has allowed me to talk to the NCAA about educational work, about educational training within athletics, but also just for our communities. And I don't think I could have gone anywhere else. I don't think I could have been as involved in activism. And activism within athletics was something that I was very intrigued by and very motivated by. And this group allows me to do that. It allows me to be an activist, but also an athlete. And I think that's important to me. So that has just been something I've been blessed to have here at Clark, but also being able to do my own radio show. It's called Time Out, and you can listen on, I think it's a simple radio app. And it's literally just me and my friends making fun of the fact that we play sports. And the fact that we're all at Clark. I'm from Mississippi. One of my friends is from San Francisco, California, and another one is from Western Massachusetts. So we're all from a variety of places, not really meant to be friends, but we've become the best of friends recently. So that has been a blessing. And it's just something that we do every Sunday morning, and make fun of each other, make fun of our sports, our classes, and play music with each other. So like I said, it's just, Clark is a great place to kind of branch out and experience new things, but especially with athletics, you can be a multitude of other things, especially as a varsity athlete.
Awesome. Michaela, thank you so much for sharing. One of the things I loved about what you were talking about is just how involved our athletes are in so many things on campus. I think that that's one of the best things about Clark is that there's just so many opportunities for you to do So many things, maybe things that you haven't done in high school, maybe things you haven't considered, things you hadn't heard of. And Clark makes it really easy to get involved in all of those things, as well as, pursue your academic passion. So thank you for sharing some of those. And I don't know if Michaela gave herself enough credit, but her work with CAKE is a completely student initiated organization. That was something that our students came up with as an initiative, and they took it forward and they created a group and they started putting together a lot of different programming and outreach to folks on campus, which I think is amazing. This wasn't something that somebody in administration came up with. Our students totally led this initiative and continue to lead that. So give yourself a hand, because that's a lot of work on top of everything else that you're doing, and I'm really glad to see it. All right, Caleb, you want to talk to us a little bit about getting involved in club sports and what that's like, and if that was something that you always knew you wanted to pursue in college, or if it's just something you picked up while you were here, and how you managed to balance all of that?
So originally when I was coming, I was thinking about playing varsity soccer with Meadow Tool. My original plan was I wanted to come to school, play soccer. That was my main goal. And then I knew I wanted to do business as well as economics, stuff like that. So when I came to Clark, I had the original plan of playing soccer, but at first I was like, maybe I'll take a break. Maybe I'll focus on my academics, see how my fit is within the school and see where it goes. And from then I ended up just taking on all my responsibilities and filling up my time with just different activities. So at first I was just doing my regular school activities. I was, again, doing business management, doing data science, and doing econ. Then I wanted to do some involvement. So I found out about club soccer, which I'll talk about in a minute. But after that, I'm a person who likes to be busy. So I fill my time in kind of all the stuff I do now is I'm in admissions, I'm an RA in Maywood Hall. I was on the e-board of a group called Focus, which is a male identifying student of color group, talking about how to talk about subjects in our day-to-day lives. Current vice president of our Black Student Union, as well as future for next year. I will be the senior advisor, as well as, again, I'm on club soccer, and I'm on a current safety task force focusing on policing alternatives and stuff within the school. So again, I've taken on a lot, and I'm a person who likes to be busy. So even with club soccer, I found it a great way to be flexible. So overall with club soccer, the way to join it is we have a thing called I Am Leagues, which is a database with all the club sports, stuff like that. You can kind of talk about your interests with them, or at the club fair, ask to be on the team. You'll get an email about information. We had a tryout with just anybody that can come through. Anyone it's not only male identifying students, it's anybody that wants to join. Basically just have a tryout so they just see how you play, and they let you know if you're on the team or not later on. Usually most people make it, but at the same time, we do have a lot of people that try out. And overall, depending on who the coaches is, we usually practices twice a week. Sometimes games during the week, mostly on the weekends, against schools like Babson, Boston College, local schools like Lee Cross, stuff like that. So kind of a wide range of different schools and wide range of kind of competitive levels. But for the most part, you really get that competitive side, but also the time to do whatever you want on the side as well. So clearly I'm a busy person, but I still have the availability to be like, oh, if I can't make it to practice tonight, I have too much homework, I can say that. Or if I can't make it to a game, I'm happy enough to know that the team's big enough to where someone will be interchangeable, but at the same time, it's okay that I won't be able to make it. Because again, even though we're still being competitive, we want to win all the time. We beat Harvard one time, I want to say that. But at the same time, you get that flexibility of being able to do what you want. And I think that's the great thing about Clark, where you have the availability to do anything. We're a small college, but a big university. So you have so many opportunities to take on so many great things. I just see Taylor's doing it, and I'm doing it in so many different ways. So you have that time to choose all these little side projects, all these little clubs that you want to be a part of and do. Alongside doing club soccer, I've been getting involved with flag football, which is one other thing that I love, which is an intramural sport. So you're just playing with Clark students. It's just a thing that you just sign up for in the winter. And I usually make a team full of my friends. We just have fun. Usually don't win because we're going against all the athletes who are all in shape and we're not as much. But still a fun opportunity to take on this stuff and still get some of your academic interests done, as well as doing some of your athletic interests.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. So now we have plenty of time for questions. So if anybody has questions, like please feel free to drop those in the Q&A, and we'd love to talk more about things that are of interest to you. So specific things, you have a specific sport question, you want to know if something works, you want to know something that we haven't talked about yet, just let us know. I'll get us started though. Can everybody just talk about maybe what's been one of the highlights of their time participating in athletics at Clark in the time that you've been here, like maybe a game or an event or something that just like really had a great impact on you? I'll give you a minute to think about that. Go ahead.
I can go. I have two. First off, you heard one of our teams that we play against for club soccer is Harvard. So they have an A and B team, and sometimes they try to get us and make us play both their teams in the same day. But one year we were able to actually beat them, so that was a great thing. They actually have a real coach, real uniforms, all that stuff. I'm not saying we don't either, but again, they do the full funding for it. So it's a great opportunity to go against them and actually beat them. And then the second favorite thing is club soccer is involved with International Student Association, sometimes their events. So they do a World Cup every year. So we get to have some of our members be captains and pick some of our members to be on the teams and then get mixed with randoms. So it's a good mix overall. They have some people already playing soccer as well as people who are just enjoying it. And last year in our event, I was with Team Africa and we won, and I still have the medal here. I keep that on me all the time, my motivation for every day, just knowing that I won a World Cup, even though it was at Clark University, it's still something special.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I'm glad you had the medal though. That was fantastic. Michaela or Matt?
I do not have a medal. We don't get medals in basketball. They should. I'm gonna propose that I get a medal every single year. I think one of my most favorite, I guess, moments was actually I have two moments just like Caleb. So I scored my first basket against Mount Holyoke, and we were there. And after the game, my teammates like dumped water on me. They were like jumping up and down. It was a special moment because I guess that was a big milestone for me in college, just scoring my first basket. And it was great to have my teammates like have that support with me as well. But I guess like one of the best moments I've ever had was we beat Wheaton, which is kind of like a basketball rival for us. It was the last game of the season, a really long, hard season. And we beat them in overtime, and it was a huge team win. All of our parents were there. We also had some fans in the stands. So it was just like a really good atmosphere and a really fun game to play in, but also watch. So I think that's one of my most treasured moments.
That's awesome. If I had a medal, I would give you a medal. How about you, Coach Matt? Well, what's some of the best moments from your career at Clark?
Yeah, I like I said, I'm going on year 10 now, and when we talk to students, I try to tell them how fast college is going to go, and the two students here can speak to how quickly it goes, and it goes twice as fast as high school. And part of my job is to slow things down and make sure that the student athlete experience is good and that the guys, have a good balance with everything. And so for me, it's really just observing and being part of the growth process, and having them come in on this brand new adventure, seeing them explore different avenues of the university, and really leaving this mature, prepared individual as they launch into their career or grad school. And that type of growth for me is always, so fun to watch. And Caleb can speak to it, like we see each other on campus from time to time, and it's always nice to check in. And so it's, the campus is a nice supportive spot where, you just can see these different pockets of just energy and growth and development and passion. And, for me to see students come in one mindset and then leave in a growth mindset is what we do, and we're all working at Clark for the students, and to be a part of that every year has been great. And so, I have obviously alumni games where students come back from previous years, and it's always nice to get caught up and hear what they're doing and hear their reflections on who they were when they come in to who they were now, and the things that they would want to tell themselves as a first year so that they would have the knowledge then, kind of thing. But that's really, for me, is the growth of the students, and that has been, what keeps me coming back all the time.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So let's talk a little bit about what are the different time commitments, Michaela and Caleb, I'm sorry, for your different involvements, right? Like how many hours a week are you in class versus practicing versus working out versus doing games versus doing all of the other things that you do in an average week? So if you could just give us a breakdown of what that looks like, that would be really helpful.
You go ahead, Caleb. You can start.
It's kind of
Sorry,
awkward.
I should call on you, but go
Yeah.
ahead.
For me, I mean, overall, we have a kind of strict structure of you taking 4 classes in a semester. You can take more, but usually that's after you already have your set GPA. There's a GPA requirement you have to petition for to do a 5th class or any more. So that usually comes in your sophomore and later on years. So for the most part, you're starting off with 4 classes. Your days aren't too busy. You usually have each class meets twice a week for the most part. So you'll maybe have 2 classes in a day, 3 if you really pack a day in. After your first year, you become really good at picking your classes, so you can make sure that you either don't have any morning classes anymore or you have a free day for yourself. So depending on whatever you want, you can have whatever schedule you like and be free on certain days. So for the most part, you can have 2 classes in a day, alongside with like sport commitment. Again, I told you that for the most part, we would practice twice a night or twice a week at night, and sometimes maybe have a week game during the week, maybe on a Wednesday or Thursday, but mostly on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. So not too much commitment on that side. And then if you're doing any clubs or anything like that, that's all depending on you. The one thing I love about Clark is everyone joins a club, everyone finds their interest through that and their passions. Again, you can create a club based on your passions and interests, but most likely there's going to be one already of that. So most people sign up for 5 to 6 and they're at the club fair, and then find the 2 to 3 that they can actually work towards and be a part of. So as you can hear, I'm a part of 3 for the most part, and again, it's time consuming for the most part, depending on how much effort you want to put in and where you want to be. You can be a general member and just be able to go to the events that they have, or you can be a part of the e-board and decide what events to have and help and stuff like that. It all depends on what commitment you have, but usually for BSC we have meetings every Sunday, so that's the only true commitment besides that. But we're always doing initiatives, creating events, so that's time always varying. But for the most part, it's whatever you make it to be. So you can clearly go on and just do nothing and just do your classes, focus on academics, and have so many free time to hang out with friends, explore Worcester and stuff like that. But then you can fill up your days doing different jobs like being in admissions or doing internships in other places. So it all depends on what you want.
Awesome, thank you. How about you, Michaela? How does your weeks look when you're in season versus maybe out of season?
Yeah. So varsity sports is a little different from club sports since they are program based and coach run. So in season, I'm gonna be a little bit busier than usual. And it truly all comes down to time management, and that is a big thing going into your first year of college. Just period. The time management is the best advice I could give you right now. But usually my day will look like about 2 classes, like Caleb said. And then I'll have practice from maybe 6 to 8 or 4 to 6. It depends on the day. Our coaches schedule around our classes, so it also depends on how everybody's schedules look as well. And then I'll have dinner, I'll do homework, but I'll have to find a way maybe to put in some club meetings, meet with friends, things like that. But usually the weeks are more jam-packed, but not too bad. You're not going to be overwhelmed all the time. And the weekends are freer, so we usually have games on Saturday, maybe Sunday at sometimes. At least for basketball, they're usually Saturday. And then Sunday, at least for my team, is our NCAA day off. So that's no practice, no workouts. And that's a day where I catch up on homework. I have my radio show that day, and I also meet with a bunch of clubs on campus. But some of my teammates like to keep their day wide open. They do nothing. They lay in bed all day. They watch Netflix. They'll do their homework, whatever you're feeling. It's up to you. It's how you design it, truly. So that's in season. Out of season, we're mainly just doing lift or strength and conditioning, or we're doing a pickup game with our teammates, and that's not really run by our coaches. Like Coach O'Toole said earlier, they have kind of restrictions from NCAA on what they can do and what they can't do. So usually we'll do strength and conditioning in the morning around 7 a.m. And that will be maybe 3 times a week, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, usually. And then we'll play pickup on the weekends. But that is all entirely optional. So my out of season times are a lot less structured. I do have a lot more time for clubs, for school. So being a winter sport athlete, it does overlap in the fall and the spring. But usually around the second half of the spring semester, I am almost bored. I'm not sure what I'm going to do because I'm used to having sports. So there's plenty of time to fit in what you need and do a multitude of things outside of kind of your varsity commitments.
Awesome. Thank you. Your work in admissions, we will keep you from getting bored for sure. We have plenty, plenty of work for everybody. Awesome. And so Matt, I have a question for you. So at the beginning, you talked a little bit about, Clark's reputation in academics as well as athletics. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the accomplishments that our Clark athletes have had in the academic areas, as well as on the athletic endeavors?
Sure. So, from an academic side, we have our NUMAC all academic team, and we've had representation across the board on our sports each year. And, the student GPA is very strong for the student athletes at Clark, and it shows their due diligence and some of the time management that Michaela talked about, where, they understand that there's a commitment and a balance, and it takes due diligence. And so, that term time management is well utilized. And then we've had all conference recipients as well as all region recipients. And so obviously we're playing in the Northeast region. And so those student athletes that have received the all region nominations and awards have been nominated by our opponent coaches. And so they're recognized in the region as one of the better student athletes in their sport in the Northeast, which is great. We've also had in our history All-Americans, and there's a nice board in the lobby of the Neller Athletic Center that displays their names and their sport. And one of the nice things that we've done from a leadership standpoint is we've placed award boards in both the Neller and the Dolan Fieldhouse, where each sports are played, that recognizes the captains for each year. And so you can look up and see the representation from leadership and captains that are on those boards. And so those have been some of the accolades that they've achieved over the years.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we do have a question from somebody who is interested in cross country. They currently run track, but not cross country. Is there a tryout process for the cross country team?
Sure. So Coach Pike is our cross country coach, and the best thing to do was to email him and get in touch with him about the opportunities to come in. And even though, we don't have a track team, like I mentioned at the Boys and Girls Club, where we built the facility for them, there is a 4-lane track. And so there's opportunity to pursue the times that you're used to. But the cross country would be a great alternative for that. So I would get in touch with the coach to pursue that opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And another question that's a little bit off topic, but for Caleb and Michaela, why did you end up at Clark? How did you, because we've got a lot of admitted students in the audience who I think right now are probably trying to make maybe one of the biggest decisions of their lives. So if you could just share a little bit about how you went through that process, I think that would be really helpful. And Caleb, you can start.
Yeah, I'll start. My process, for the most part, started in my junior year when I had Wheaton College look at me for soccer. Originally, once I heard that, I was like, oh my God, the school wants me for a sport. I'm going there. I love it. But the more I visited, I found out it wasn't the place for me overall, and I kind of wanted something else. And my mom told me about Clark, which was a similar school, but better academics, kind of better overall vibe. You hear a lot more about the school overall, with successful graduation and people doing great things in the afterlife. So I was like, I'll check it out. And I got into contact with O2. I got many visits with some of the athletes, and the more visits I had, the more I liked it. And the one thing that did it for me was an overnight that I had for accepted students. It was a regular one, where that night I met with the Caribbean African Student Association. I'm Jamaican and Cape Verdean, so I became friends with all their members. I met my roommate that night, who's one of my best friends and still together to this day. He's like family to me. And we actually found out that we knew each other, or had family that know each other from Jamaica, which is very funny, once we actually moved in with him. So it's kind of connections like that kind of really made me know I love Clark. It was a place where I found my space within it, the community. I knew I already liked the people here. I knew I saw myself within the school, so I knew it was for me. And ever since then, I know I made the best choice. Overall, what my mom said to me was, I could do well at any of the schools that I got accepted to, but it's not about just doing well and graduating with a degree, but it's actually going somewhere, learning through the people around you, kind of having real growth, having people who will support you, take care of you, all that. And through, it's been Clark. I have people here who are like my family, who are pushing me to do stuff I never thought I would do. Again, I'm a vice president of a club, looking to kind of do more, especially um, taking it on initiative, working in admissions, kind of working with, again, the policing on campus, looking to better things for students of color, stuff like that. So I've taken on so many initiatives that I would never have done at any other school. And that's because I felt like this is the place for me. And again, Clark might not be the place for you, but again, look for that school that where you can see the people and see that they are just like you, or they're the people that you want to spend the rest of your life with or going to school with, because the school you go to will be your home for those 4 or more years. So make sure that it's a community you want to be with.
Awesome. Thank you. That's super helpful. And how about you, Michaela? How did your college decision process go?
Yeah, so I guess like Caleb said, like around like the end of my junior year, I got some interest from some other schools. But I never entertained it because of that pre-med thing. And then I went to a camp, and Clark messed up my senior year by emailing me right before the first day and said that we like you. I looked them up, I was like, oh, this is a really good school. But my brother goes to Emerson College, and I was like, I don't want to be near my brother. Like, I don't want to see him. I don't want him to come see me. I want to be on my own, yada, yada, yada. So at first I didn't really entertain it, but then more and more kind of signs in my life popped up, and I was like, okay, I should go for a visit. I came and toured the psychology facilities and the department, and kind of saw how I could go down a pre-medicine track, but not have to major in biology or not have to major in chemistry or something like that. And that was huge to me. I thought I was going to do something that I didn't necessarily enjoy the most. But Clark allowed me to major in psychology and also be on the pre-medicine track. So that was a huge thing that really stuck out to me. And I got a nice merit scholarship, and it felt like home the minute I got here. So I decided to commit fairly early in October, which my parents thought was crazy, but I've enjoyed it ever since, and it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made. So that's kind of how I went about finding Clark.
That's awesome. Thank you. So we did have a question that came up in the chat. I'll just answer. I know Matt already did a great job of typing an answer, but just in case anybody else wanted to know, you can come visit campus. We are doing tours on a very limited basis. So it's one family group on one tour with our tour guides. Masks have to be worn. You have to stay 6 feet away from your tour guide. And currently we're not able to go inside buildings on campus. We are doing some virtual tours. So I think we do have some tours of like the athletics facilities. We have tours of the residence hall. So if you want to tune in, those are available on our website. You can check those out. They're on Facebook Live, so you can kind of follow along with somebody giving a tour, and then hopefully get your questions answered and kind of see what things look like. So yeah, check that out if you want to see the facilities. And then we have a question from somebody who wants to try out for varsity soccer. So how does that tryout process work for the fall?
Sure. So I just wrote something in the text as well. So typically each sport, we offer tryouts for all of our varsity sports, and they can happen at different parts of the year. And so depending on when each coach wants to host those tryout dates, those students are notified of that opportunity. In order to try out, you do need to complete all the necessary medical paperwork and medical clearances that a varsity athlete would, so that we have all those documentations in place. And so the best thing to do is to follow up with that coach, say, I'm interested in trying out. And then they will give you the information for the athletic trainer. They'll send you the link to all the paperwork and medical background information. And then on those corresponding dates, the students can show up to participate in tryouts. And so one of the nice things about Division III is that our non-traditional training segments, so for us for soccer, would be the spring. We're allowed 16 days in that spring semester. Those do not count against your eligibility to play college sports. So you are given 10 semesters to play 4 years. And so by training in the spring for men's soccer or a fall sport, you wouldn't use one of those years of eligibility. So let's say that the coach decides to roster you after trying out in the spring semester of your first year. You would still have 4 years of eligibility. So if you did decide to pursue one of the accelerated fifth years at Clark, you could play that grad year and still get 4 years of eligibility in. And so there's this nice little kind of window of opportunity to get those 4 years of experience. So, but the tryouts can happen in the fall. It can happen in the spring. We've had students try out multiple times, and it's really about providing that opportunity. And like I mentioned earlier, we bring in a recruiting class every year. We graduate a recruiting class. And so the team dynamic is always changing. The team need is always changing. And so there's ample opportunity to participate.
Awesome. Thank you. So we're just about out of time. So I want to just thank everybody again for coming. It was great hearing all your questions and telling you a little bit about what athletics looks like at Clark. If you want to get in touch with us, please feel free. You can always email us at admissions or financial aid or athletics. Those email addresses are up there. Don't hesitate to reach out. We know that there's a lot going on and there's some big decisions that you have to make before May 1st, which is the deposit deadline. So if we can be of any assistance in that process for you, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to do that. We're happy to connect you with other folks on campus. If you want to reach out to Caleb and Michaela, you can feel free to do that as well. They can put their emails in the chat if you have questions about things that they've talked about. And I just wanted to let everybody know that this is one of many webinars that we've been offering this month. We will be having another one later this week on Sunday, and that is a presentation by parents of current Clarkies. So if any parents are in the audience, they want to hear from other parents, or if any students in the audience want to tell your parents, they might want to check that out on Sunday at 6 o'clock. You can sign up on the website. We'll probably send out some more emails with information on that as well. But we hope to hear from you soon. We hope to see you again. And we hope that everyone is doing well. Thank you so much for coming. It was great having you here. Have a great rest of your evening.